This has to be one of my favorite readings. There's a fair amount of comfort that I get from it. I know that it means that we're starting Holy Week and Easter with the promise of new life will be here very soon. It also supports my belief that Jesus was a great leader and knew what peace was really about. I want so much for that peace to be true in my heart, in my home, my country, in the world. I just want things to go to be nice and peace, calm. And yet there's something else underlying this text that might show us that we're in for a very different type of week than that nice, calm, peaceful one that we might be hoping for. When I Googled political dissident, I was shown a Wikipedia article of all things, which claimed to list political dissidents from around the world. I say claimed because Wikipedia isn't exactly a scholarly resource, and how could one ever say that they have a complete list of dissidents? There were 46 countries listed in alphabetical order, and Canada was the 5th. For Canada, there was only one person listed as a political dissident. It was Yves Anglais. You might remember his name. He was the individual in 2005 who poured a bottle of cranberry juice on the then Canadian Minister of Foreign Affairs, Pierre Pettigrew. It was in protest to Canada's involvement in 2004 in the Haitian coup. He also claimed that anti-Semitism may be the most abused term in Canada. In a number of ways, he is the opposite of our stereotypical idea of a Canadian and of Canadian niceness. If this is what being a dissident is, then how can I claim that Jesus was a political dissident? For the simple reason that the definition of a dissident is someone who publicly disagrees and criticizes their government. With that loose of a definition from the Cambridge Dictionary, I'm not sure that there isn't a Canadian who isn't a dissident, for we love to disagree with and criticize our governments. In the case of Jesus, though, it was a much deeper situation than the criticism and disagreement that we often level. Jesus didn't just disagree with the Roman rule of the day, and he didn't just criticize what was happening. He went to the middle of their power, to the source of their strength, and provoked the Roman rule to respond. Marcus Borg and John Dominic Crossan make the case for this in their book, The Last Week, what the Gospels really teach about Jesus' final days in Jerusalem. 2 processions entered Jerusalem on a spring day. It was the beginning of the week of Passover. From the east, Jesus rode a donkey from the Mount of Olives, cheered by his followers. From the west, Pontius Pilate entered Jerusalem at the head of a column of imperial cavalry and soldiers. The 2 processions embody the central conflict of the week that led to Jesus' crucifixion. We've spent too long in the church looking at the interaction between Jesus and, quote, the Jews, how the Pharisees and scribes interacted with Jesus, how a group called for his death. Yet that wasn't where the real conflict was. He had the support of Jewish peasants that had been in the area that he had ministered to around Jerusalem. They cheered him on. It was the powerful elite who ruled the day, who oppressed God's people, who exploited God's people for economic gain, who tried to legitimize their stance by claiming that Caesar was the son of God. Well, the son of Apollo, actually. And by imposing their religious view on the people of Judaism. These 3 points of political oppression, economic exploitation, and religious legitimation together form what is termed a domination system. When it comes together to allow a group to continue to dominate another. That type of system is still at work in the world today. Look at how we treat Indigenous peoples from a systemic viewpoint in Canada. Look at how we wrote the rules that govern this nation and those who live on this land. Look at how our systems are still used to oppress and exploit, and that are supported by some belief that it is the right or the God-given directive for us to do so. If you're struggling to see that, how about the situation that captured our attention just a few months ago, south of the border in the United States? The horrific events of January 6, 2021 punctuate this exceptionalist belief. Contrary to the popular aphorism, it was not a dark day in American history. It was a supremely white one. This from Oluwatosin Oredin and her online article, We Need to Talk About White Belief. The response to the violence on that day in Washington, D.C. shows how much political systems of this day are still used to oppress, exploit, and are supported by the belief that there is some sort of divine sanction for it. We started today reading about the triumphal entry into Jerusalem by Jesus. It wouldn't take much for us to see that the peasants who followed Jesus on that day wanted him to come in, overthrow the system that had dominated them for decades, to end their centuries of trouble and end all of the various occupations that had happened, to allow them to live in a nice, peaceful existence. Even the Pharisees who were talking to Jesus that day may have been trying to get this peace when they asked Jesus to calm down his followers. For they already knew that Jesus was a marked man. They had already warned them earlier in Luke's gospel that Herod was out to kill him. All they may have been doing in today's reading was looking for everyone to be nice. There does come a time, though, that being nice is the worst kind of violence. And it's especially true for the many Christians who erroneously conflate being nice with following Jesus. That's from William H. Lamar IV and his online article, "It's Not Just the Coronavirus. Bad Theology is Killing Us." We need to hear and understand that Jesus wasn't being nice when he rode into Jerusalem. He was preparing a protest that would lead to some people to see God in a new light. And I'm left wondering what Jesus would call us to protest today. Palm Sunday isn't a time to sit peacefully on a donkey. It is a call to action, a call to strengthen our relationship with our God, a call for us to live out the passion of our faith, a call to not just enter and sit. It's also a call to exit and to change the world. And for that, we give thanks. Amen.